So we're doing another run of battleships today. I had a lot of people talk to me about the setups that I've been running, and I figured, hey, I'll go over a couple of things for you. Just a quick recap of some bits that were done over the last few weeks of commanders and higher tiers, for example, that people were asking, hey, how does this commander work? How does this commander work? And to be perfectly honest, it really changes. A lot of people have specific designs that they want, one-shot kills that they hope to achieve with certain proxies. I don't like doing videos based upon proxies because you never know when the proxy is going to happen. The proxy could happen too early, it could happen too late, it couldn't proxy at all. It just proxies are definitely a gamble, and I I am okay with people running the proxy gamble. That's fine. Everybody has a different play style. I'm not saying these are the end all. I'm just giving people great ideas on where to go and how to do things. With that being said, the last Battleship video I did, a lot of you were asking questions about, what do you use in the higher tiers, 8, 9, 10, and I was actually able to sit down and do math because math is where it's at. And with that being said, I wanted people to understand that I know a lot of people don't always have commanders, don't always have qualifications. So, unfortunately, in a lot of different ways that these games are played, it's really chance and luck that you get good merit, good qualifications. You have the commanders that I talk about, and a lot of that stuff just kind of goes over with what I would suggest being time time consuming. So with that, let's take a look at my Illinois here and how it's set up overall. What you're seeing with the overall run from the battleship in the higher tiers is three guns, three main guns, maybe four main guns, depending on if you're a nine or a German ship, for example. But you're looking at three by threes for a majority of the ships. Now, the scattering of those gets to be a little sketchy at times. The Japanese by far the worst for scattering, so accuracy is huge. So I, unfortunately, with the Illinois, went off of a little more, I guess you could say, impact and run, basically hitting the opposing ships continuously to the point that their reticle can't zoom in on me because I'm hitting them every 5 seconds with my mains. I don't fire salvo, I fire solo. So I am constantly, every 5 seconds, I am able to fire the mains off this ship. So fire once, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Second salvo, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. And a lot of people don't understand that 5 seconds is actually, especially if you're honed in on a target, deadly accurate. So with that being said, let's kind of get into this. So Gunther Lugens is my captain. He is my battleship captain in love. Just we've gone over him countless times. We know his abilities, we know how he runs, we know what he brings to the table. Backing him up in levels 8 through 10, I swap out Alan McMillan for Leaf Sandry. A lot of people ask me why. Mainly because higher tiers, better armor, insanely higher health. Percentage wise, the tier 5 and the tier 10, very close percentages of damage to health. But the problem is the health and damages are significantly greater. Um, you see 4 times the amount of health, but not quite 4 times the amount of damage being done. So it's definitely a larger slug match. What Leaf brings to the table is definitely his enhanced main reload for potential and penetration too. Turkey Hunter's cute, but doesn't really matter much. Um, I will explain potential a little bit later with the breakdown of static abilities. The next three, obviously, my Willis Lee, the Ralph Mueller, and the Dudley Pound. Last time you saw them, they were all 4-star. I dumbed them down to do some other ships for people, so I apologize that they're not 4-star right now. I can't help that because I need qualifications, so I bounce them around a lot. Now, what this setup gives you on this battleship is quite a significant amount. Now, I've changed some things around down here that have helped some fun shenaniganry. Custom hoist for reloading, big fire control radar. My reticle gets pretty tiny pretty quick, and heavy armor. A lot of people go, why do you run heavy armor? It hurts your speed. I have Gunther to bring it back. So I still retain 30 knots in my Illinois, which is not a bad speed for such a big boat. You see that DD still out-knot you by 10 knots. Cruisers usually have you by 5, but at 30 knots, you're still a respectable speed in a battleship. Now, what this setup gives you is static abilities. And when I say static, I mean they're constant. They don't change. They're not a proxy. They don't go away. You start the game with it and you end the game with it. Starting at the top with what this crew gives you, you have a 10% increase to health, which means your ship, instead of being 19,220, is going to be like 2,100, for example, because basically adding 1,920 health to your ship because of Battleship Elite. Following that, all my guns, my primary, my secondary, and my AA all do 8% more damage. Another reason why I moved Alan McMillan off is because Gunther gives me that to all of my guns instead of just Alan's 10% to mains. 10% to mains is awesome because then you add 8% from him and they're 18% more powerful. But the Illinois does not have powerful guns. They're only 1,022 damage per barrel. It's really not that big of an increase. It's only 100 points of damage with Allen. You add Gunther, it's closer to 180 points of damage. So it really having him in that slot wasn't good for that 22-second reload. Getting that reload down 20% was much more significant to me than being able to just hit for a hopeful 180 extra damage. On top of that, you get 2 knots, so your ship, I will do 32 knots overall with him because Gunther adds it. Even though the armor planing is dropping me 10%, Gunther stacks on top of that to go back up to 32 knots. The deck armor, the side armor, and the bulge. With this setup between Gunther and I believe it's Willis Lee and the deck armor, or the heavy plating I should say, you're looking at 15% better deck armor, 15% better side armor, and 8% increase to bulge, which gives you significantly good numbers. That you're looking at 154 millimeter deck armor, 440 millimeter side armor, and 355 millimeter bulge armor. Then you stack on the extra 5, 5, and 8 from the commanders that don't show up on that. But that's a significant increase in armor. You're looking at you're going to be looking at about 160 millimeter deck armor. You're going to be looking about almost 500 millimeter side armor, and you're looking at about 400 millimeter bulge armor at the end game for the final statistics between all of the bonuses, which honestly, stop torpedoes, stop shells, stop secondary, stop DDs from hitting you at a really hard bonus. Now, reload. Reload is at 27%. You have 10% from your custom hoist. You have another 10% from Leech Sandry. So that 23-second reload speed is chopped down by 20% right there. So you have 23 seconds times 0.2. That means it shaves 4.6 seconds off, which means your reload's now down to 18 seconds for a full salvo. With just those two things. Without any other commanders, your reload is dropped to 20%, which is significantly helpful. Now, Gunther adds 1%, so you're at 21%. Willis Lee adds 3, Ralph Mueller adds 3. So right there with those guys, you're at 27%. You take that 23 second times 0.27, means it shaves off 6.21, which means you're down to basically 16 seconds for a full reload, which is where I get my 5-second reload. You fire, you wait, you fire, you wait. I basically can just sit there and every 5 seconds, shells out, shells out, shells out, shells out, shells out, which is huge because that stops people from being able to hone in on you because their ship is constantly being hit by shells. Especially Japanese battlecruisers, keeping them from being able to hone in on you and hitting you, especially a Yamamoto, for example, which will tear your Illinois apart. Keeping them from being able to get a good lock on you is imperative that you don't take a bunch of 2100 round shells from a Super Yamato. Now, the next thing is penetration. With this setup, my penetration is at 7%. You're looking at Leaf Sandry brings 2%, Ralph Mueller brings 3%, and Dudley Pound brings 2%. So, with that, a lot of people talk about conceit and how they love conceit. Well, I like conceit, but I want every shot to carry penetration. I don't want to hope and pray that I get that 30% proxy. And the other problem is if you fire your guns and that conceit proxies and you're hitting a submarine, for example, or a let's say a destroyer, anything non-battleship oriented, and you've used your conceit proxy for the next minute when you get into a slugfest with a battleship, I get concerned because I want to be able to have consistency. I don't want my proxies to be my winning decisive part of the battle. Proxies I want as a bonus to my statistical base, which is why I don't run Wolf Hoffenstein or Inugichi Toshira at 5-star. That's just ridiculous amount of qualifications for a 30% chance to get a 10% bonus for 30 seconds, which theoretically is, if with my setup, about 2 salvos. And a lot of people go, oh, that'll kill a battleship. Yeah, yeah, it will. However, with this setup, like I said, I run 7% penetration on every shot, every second of every salvo. There's no proxy, which means I'm losing 3% for 70%, which is not bad. Meaning every shot I fire is 7% penetration versus every shot I fire has a 30% chance to get 10%. So realistically, I outweigh the fact that I'm 7 out of 10% constant. That to me is more important than the hopeful 10%. Now a lot of people go, oh well, scouting. Honestly, if you're getting into a scouting match late game in a battleship, you're probably not going to do too well anyways. So running that extra 450 meters of scouting, which is half a kilometer, not even half a square in the game, doesn't really help you, especially if that person has good disguise or they're way out there. So to me, it just isn't worth it. Now, anybody else can be different about that. Moving on to aiming speed. Trying to keep this a relatively short video just so people don't have to, watch it like 50,000 times. Aiming speed is the last little twitch to this. You get 15% increase. You get a 5% from Dudley Pound. His 4-star ability increases main artillery speed 5. And Willis Lee has his main reload, increase main artillery speed by 10, and then aiming correction by 0.5. So rounding it out, you get 15% increase to aiming speed and a 0.5 aiming correction increase, which is nice. You know, there's another 5% to aiming down here with big fire control radar, which so you're up to 20% increase in your aiming speed, which is decent and very 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 useful. Now that is what I would consider a great balanced crew for most people. They only have to be 4-star. These guys don't have to be 5-stars. Ralph and Willis especially do not have to be 5-star because if you do, they have to be specific to the gunner slot. So if you're really one of those guys that's big on penetration, make Ralph Mueller 5-star and put him in your gunner slot because he'll have 10% penetration at all times with every primary main artillery shot. But like I said, with the way I have this set up, is it's the most cost-effective overall balanced ability for a battleship you can get in the higher tiers. Everybody, make your own design after this. I'm out here giving you guys what I think is the best overall working. Find what works best for you and what ship you're using. Because if you're running the Japanese ship, this team doesn't really help you too much. It definitely lacks in the accuracy department, but naturally the American ship's pretty damn accurate, and a high commander in the gunner slot um, increases your accuracy. If you see right there, my gunner increases my accuracy 20% right now. Now that reload speed I didn't tell you about because it depends if you don't have them at level 10 4-star. I have another 6% reload, so if you really want to look at it, technically it's 27 plus the, what is that, 6? Let's just call it 6. That means I have a 33% reload. If I do 23 times 0.33, that means It's shaving off about 7.5 seconds, so that drops you down to 15 seconds. So once again, once every 5 seconds. I hope you guys enjoy this. This is just, like I said, it's a quick Battleship rundown for the higher tiers. So if you have any questions, just post them up or ask me. Thanks, guys.